We will begin the Bumblebee Snuggle Sack in just a moment. Hi everyone, it's Mikey and I'm proud to introduce a brand new pattern series by Yarnspirations.com. It's called the Sleep and Snuggle Sack series. On screen now are other sleep sacks that are available in free pattern and tutorial format. Whimsical and delightful projects that will practically guarantee a warm smile from boys and girls. Super terrific for gift giving and much more. If you're wanting to try another sleep sack, then just click to play and I'll forward you directly to the next one. If you're wanting to do today's project, well, don't wait any further. Let's get started right now. Welcome back to the Crochet Crowd as well as Yarnspirations.com. I'm your host Mikey. Let's begin today's tutorial on working on this fabulous Bumblebee Snuggle Sack by Yarnspirations.com. Today's tutorial is a comprehensive start to finish project. In fact, I'm working on the project behind the scenes in order to show you all the steps involved for making this snuggle sack. The main feature about the Bumblebee is that it's just not a straight up cocoon. There's bulges in the different rings and it makes it for really kind of a neat look instead of just being very plain Jane. So it's more than just colors, it's about shaping too. This Bumblebee, minus the filming and preparation time, took me approximately 12 hours to make. This project can be done in a couple days, and that's assuming you don't get distracted, of course. On screen now is the anatomy of the Bumblebee, and we will return back to this chalkboard in between each lesson. There are 7 steps involved in making this Bumblebee, and without further ado, let's start off by examining the pattern, and then we'll go from there. So here's the free pattern available by Yarnspirations.com. This tutorial is complementing this particular tutorial, and again it's free. And what we have is that we have the ball counts, and you're going to notice that you need 4 balls of black, 3 balls of yellow, and then 1 ball of white, and you can see the difference of why you would need more black versus yellow. So what we have here is that we have the abbreviations that are used inside the pattern just like so, and we're going to start off in the first ring. So one thing I expected happen based on just, I don't know why I was thinking, but I always thought because we've been starting the other sleep stacks from the top that this one would start at the top, but this one actually starts on the bottom and works its way back to the top, and I think it's just because you got the little cute little stinger here, and then we're just going to get bigger and bigger. So there's a lot more instructions that are on here versus the shark that we did in the sense of the cocoon shape itself. So one thing I learned real quick is that we're going to get bigger and bigger, but then we start to decrease to create like these bumps that are up here. In this particular sample you don't really see that it's doing that, but that's just because it's the angle in which we're looking at. So there's a lot of instructions here, but when you break it down step by step you realize that it's really not a big deal. So it's being separated by the rings. So this is 2nd ring, 3rd ring, 4th ring. 5th ring says repeat, you know, going back, and then we're going to do the wings. So what you're going to do here in this particular pattern, you need 2 sizes of crochet hooks. So you're going to need the size 8mm size L, and you're also going to need a 6.5mm size K crochet hook today in order to play with this tutorial. So this main area here is all done with the big hook, and the wings are done with a smaller hook in order to provide a more tighter look and finish. So that's the pattern in general. Now as a disclaimer in this particular tutorial that I'm going to be using the coal, which is the Bernat blanket in black. You will know, and obviously you'll be able to see it in this video, that black is very difficult to film in order to see the individual stitches. In this particular tutorial, in order to keep true to the pattern and to keep true to a bumblebee, I am using black. You'll just have to listen to my words for the instructions if you struggle to read instructions. So just follow that along. I really don't want to compromise using a different color here because I really do want this finished look for mine. So that's going to be the issue today. No matter how much lighting I have, I have 300 watts of lighting bouncing off of this project, but it's going to be very difficult to see the stitches. So you just have to be patient and just work it as good as you can get it. Okay, so let's stop talking about the project and let's actually get hooking it. So let's go from the very bottom, ring number 1, and we're going to start from the stinger and work our way up. So let's hook to it. So let's begin right from the very beginning, and I'm going to use a stitch marker, just a spare piece of yarn that's very clear to tell, because I was actually, this is take 2. I've actually done all the way to number 1 to 5, and I was confused on how many stitches I got because I really can't see because it's black yarn on where the stopping and startings are. So I would recommend getting that. So let's start off with a slip knot and let's chain up 2. I'll just put that aside. So 1 and 2. So what you want to do in the very first chain, okay, second chain from the hook, or it's the first one, it's the same thing, is that you want to put 4 single crochets into that first one. So 1 and then 2, 3 and 4. And you want to join this then to the beginning. Now if you're confused at all, just count back 1, 2, 3 and 4 and just go to the 4th one to do a slip stitch. Okay, that's what you need to do. So what I'm gonna do now is that I'm just gonna pull up a larger loop, and I'm gonna grab this other yarn, and I'm going to just get a smaller hook and pull that through. Therefore I can see when I've gone all the way around. You know what, when you need tools like this, spare yarn is fabulous. Okay, so that concludes number 1. Let's move along to round number 2. Rounds 2 and 3 are the same thing that we need to do. So we need to chain up 1, and we do 1 single crochet into the first one and 1 single crochet into each, and there's only 4 of them, so let's count those. So 1, 2, okay, I'm just gonna flip it. I'm flipping it so that the bottom is facing me. So we got 3. Once this gets bigger, it's a lot easier to work with, and then 4 is the last one. Okay, and you're thinking, okay, well the stitch marker is over slightly. Remember, that's the slip stitching of it, so that just shows you where the slip stitch is. So once you get your 4 in, just slip stitch to the beginning single crochet that you started with, like so, and that concludes off round number 2. So what I want to do is that in order to help myself further, I want to take this stitch marker and feed it through where I did the slip stitch this time, therefore I can see it. Okay, and let's conclude and move up to row number 3. Row 3 is the same thing as row number 2. Chain up 1, 1 single crochet into the first one, and 1 into each, and there's a total of 4 altogether. So that was 1, 2, 3, and 4 is next. And what I want to do is just slip stitch it to the top of the first one. Okay, so that shows you where the slip stitch was in the last time, just coming up to the first single crochet that you started with, and then move up that stitch marker, and that was round number 2. So when I say move it up, just drag a piece of it, only one strand, up with you, and therefore you just carry that up as you go. So that concludes off round number 4, or sorry, round number 3. Let's go for round number 4. Now round number 4, we're gonna get slightly bigger now. The stinger is now going to go to the bottom. Now this tail end that we ended up with right in the very beginning, I would safely say to cut that out now. You've got that, that'll be buried inside the project. So let's begin, and we're going to move along and go for number 4. So we're gonna get slightly bigger this time. So round number 4, we're gonna chain up 1, and we're gonna do a single crochet into the first one, and then the next one we're going to do 2 single crochets to make it bigger. So there's gonna be 2 single crochets into the same one. So 1 and 2. Okay, the next one is gonna be a single crochet by itself, and we're gonna finish this one with the last one being 2 single crochets in there. So 1 and 2. So we've just gone from 4 stitches now to 6, and then we're gonna slip stitch it to the beginning one that you had, the beginning single crochet, and move up that stitch marker once again just to show that with show that stitch to you. Once I get more of this project into my hand, it appears that I'm struggling at this moment, but the reality is I'm not. It's just because it's not a lot of material to be holding at one time in my hand. So once it gets bigger, these projects get a lot easier. So let's conclude that. So that was round number 4. Let's insert our hook again and go for round number 5. Okay, row number 5, we're gonna get bigger once again. We're gonna increase our stitches, so we're gonna chain up 1. First one is gonna get 2 single crochets. I know you cannot see my stitches very well, so just follow my words. So 2 single crochets first one, then it's 1 single crochet into the next. Next one is 2 single crochets. Okay, the next one is 1 single crochet. We're almost done. The next one is going to be 2 single crochets into the same one, and then the final is going to be 1 single crochet by itself, and then you're just going to join it to the top of the beginning single crochet that you started with. So just going right in there, pull it through and move up your stitch marker once again. That was round number 5. I'm going to stop telling you to move up the stitch marker. You should do it automatically from this point. It'll save you a lot of grief and time if you do so. So please continue to follow along and just do that each and every time that I tell you to move up your stitch marker, instead of me having to show that to you each and every time. Okay, round number 6, we're gonna start really expanding at this point. So we're gonna chain up 1 to start, and then each and every stitch around is gonna have 2 single crochets in there. So just put 2 single crochets into each stitch going all the way around, join it with the first single crochet, and move up your stitch marker. I'll see you at the end of this round. This is round number 6. Round 7 and 8 are both the same thing, but I'll take you through both because just to make sure that you got it. So you're gonna chain up 1. The first stitch is going to be 2 single crochets into the same one, and then the next 2 single crochets in a row will just be 1 single crochet each. So 1 and 2. Okay, so the repeat pattern going all the way around. The next one will have 2 single crochets into the same stitch. So 1 and 2. And then the next 2 are single crochets by themselves for 2. Please do that all the way around for round number 7. Finishing up round number 7, the last 2 will be 2 single crochets by itself if you're following along with that same patterning of 2 in the 1 and then 2 into the next, or 1 into the next 2. So just join it to the beginning just like so, and move up that stitch marker, and we're gonna start off round number 8, which is identical in the same round. You're gonna notice it's gonna have a nice bell shape at the bottom just like you see it in the photograph. So moving up to round number 8, very simple, chain up 1. First one is gonna be the same thing of 2 single crochets in a row, or into the same one, and then the next 2 are gonna be 1 single crochet each. Okay, so the repeat pattern again is 2 into the same one, and then the next 2 are going to be single crochets each. Please repeat that all the way around for round number 8. On concluding round number 8, the final 2 are just 1 single crochet each because I'm keeping it in balance with that same repeat pattern, and join it to the beginning single crochet. I've gotten a lot easier working with this. You know, it always takes a little bit of time getting used to the thicker yarn when we're going to play with this kind of thing, and again, more in my hand is a lot easier for me to hold as a person as well. So let's move up the stitch marker and let's move up to round number 9. Round number 9, we're going to start increasing, and now I'm getting more and more comfortable for this because it's starting to look more like the shaping of a hat. So we've gone from a little stinger to then the base. Number 9 is going to be chaining 1 and 2 single crochets into the first one, and then for the repeat pattern is that there's gonna be 3 single crochets in a row by itself. So this is gonna be 1, 2, and 3. So the repeat pattern for row number 9 is that there's gonna be 2 into the same one, and then the next 3 are by themselves. So 1, 2, and 3. So please continue to do that same patterning all the way around. So 2 into the same and then 3 by themselves. So let's conclude round number 9. The final 3 will, if you're keeping balance, will be 3 single crochets in a row. And then we're just gonna join it to the top of the beginning single crochet. Move up that stitch marker and let's begin round number 10. Round number 10, we're gonna get even bigger. So we're gonna chain up 1, 2 single crochets into the first one, and this time there's gonna be 4 single crochets in a row. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and the next one is gonna be 2 single crochets into the same one. Okay, so the repeat pattern all the way around was the 2 single crochets into the same one and then 4 by themselves. So that was 1, 2, 3, and 4. Please do that all the way around for round number 10. Finishing round number 10, the last 4 are 1 single crochet each in order to keep it in balance, and then join it to the beginning single crochet that you started with. Move up that stitch marker and let's do round number 11 next. Let's go for round number 11. We're gonna chain up 1, and it's gonna be 2 single crochets into the very first one, and we're gonna get bigger. So this one this time is going to be 5 single crochets in a row. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, and then the next one is 2 into the same one, so 1 and 2, and then the next 5 are by themselves. So continue that. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, and then the next one has got 2, and then continue that same pattern all the way around. Okay, that was round number 11. Finishing up round number 11, there's gonna be 5 in a row, don't forget that, and then you just gotta join it to the beginning single crochet that you started with and move up that stitch marker for round number 11. Round number 12, we're gonna chain up 1 and 2 single crochets into the first one, and then this time we are still getting bigger, so the next 6 are by themselves. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, and then the next 2 are in the same one, and then 6 again in a row. Please do that all the way around for round number 12. Finishing up round number 12, this is 4, 5 and 6, and I just want to join it then to the top of the beginning single crochet that I started with. So we're gonna move up to round number the rest of them using a measuring tape, and I'm gonna show you how to do that, but I want to make sure I move up my stitch marker next or I'm gonna get confused. So I'll be right back, and we're going to then use your tape measure to do the remaining of this part of the ring, which is ring number 1. I'm coming up all the way around on number 12, and remember there's gonna be 6 single crochets in the end of this one. So you should have a total count of 64 stitches going all the way around now, and what we're going to do then at this point, and let me just verify that. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, that was it, and join it to the beginning. So now you want to verify that you have 64 on your circle. Just count all the way around, and then what you want to do then is that we're going to use a tape measure and just now continue to build this just in a continuous revolution until it gets to a certain dimension, and let's cover that next. So now what you want to do is that we want to go in a continuous revolution, so you're going to chain up 1 and go 1 single crochet in each, and you want to now do that completely, and it's going to start coming around like a top of a hat. So what you have to do is that you have to get to 12 inches from this point. So just measuring out, okay, so we have to get to over here. So you're just gonna go in continuous revolutions. Just make sure you slip stitch in between and just do 1 single crochet in each and stop when you get to 12 inches, and that'll be the conclusion. Then we want to then do a decrease round, and then we're going to then change to yellow. So please just do 1 single crochet in each. So just coming back into your project, okay, and chain 1 and 1 single crochet into each, going all the way around, and then just join it with the slip stitch to the top of the first single crochet and continue to move up. So I'll see you back here when we get 12 inches done, and I'll have to get that done off camera before I can move on to show you the rest. So I'll see you here in just a moment or two. Okay, so now I'm back. I sat out on the patio, had a nice cool drink, and I got my 12 inches done. So it's 12 inches from the tip of the stinger right to where I am. So this knows that I am ready for the next step of ring number 1. So we only have 1 more round to go, and you can see I've been carrying up my stitch markers as I've been going along. As an experienced crocheter, I probably did not need to do that, but I'm doing it more for tutorial purposes just to show you, and really I don't mind it, and it takes a few seconds anyway. So let's begin the final round of ring number 1. Ring number 1 meaning that this is the black color, and then we're gonna switch back to yellow, or we're gonna switch over to yellow. So we're going to chain up 1, and we're gonna single crochet the first 2 together, and then the next 2 will be single crochets by themselves. So if you remember what we did in the very beginning, we talked about the idea that it's gonna be bulging. Okay, so you can see that it's gonna come in and compress, and then it's gonna pop right back out, and you can see it's kind of doing that here. So this is just one of those concepts that you see here. So we're gonna get a little bit smaller now so we can create that bulge, and then when we come back with the yellow we're gonna increase it back. So we chained up 1 already, and what we need to do then is that we need to put 2 together and then 2 single crochets in a row. So we're chaining a 1 already. So the first one here, we're gonna stick our hook into the first stitch, pull through, do not finish it, go into the next stitch available to you, pull through. You now have 3 loops on your hook. I want you to yarn over and pull through all 3. So 2 just became 1, and so you're going to single crochet in the next 2, just 1 each, and the next 2 are going to be together. So going in, pull through, going into the next one, pull through all 3 loops, and those 2 just became 1, and then 2 single crochets in a row, and then the next 2 are together. So in, pull through, going into the next one, pull through, and then pull through all 3. Please do that all the way around, and then we're officially done with the black at this time. So I'm coming up all the way around. The final 2 stitches are 2 single crochets in a row because I'm keeping that count of 2 together and then 2 in a row single crochet, so it just stays in balance. I'm going to join it to the top of the first 2 together that we started with, and that's officially it. I'm gonna move up the stitch marker before I fasten off. So ring number 1 is officially done, and you will see that in this now you'll see that it kind of really did pull in like this, just like it should. So to fasten off, what you're going to do with every one, and I know it's black and it's hard to see, but what I want you to do is just cut that yarn. Okay, just cut it and just pull it through. Sometimes it's just easier to use your fingers. Just pull things through, and what I want you to do is just in and out of these stitches, just weave it back and forth for about 2 inches. And what you're gonna do in the next round, you'll catch that underneath so that it will not be shown. If you feel more comfortable, you can use a darning needle if you wish, but I think for this purposes I think you can do a really good job with this. So what you want to do in the next round when you're coming around is that not only you're gonna go in the stitches, but you're gonna make sure that this straggler that you see, which I know it's hard to see, will just be right on top of the line, so that the next one will wrap around. So once you get it in enough times, just cut it off, and that concludes ring number 1. Good job. So let's move up to the second ring, and we're going to make the diameter a bit bigger with a few more rounds, and then just go in regular rounds around and around up into the third ring. You can do this. I know you can. So let's get going. So let's begin the second ring. So the second ring is yellow, and what we're going to do is that we're immediately going to compensate. Remember how we just went in and made things smaller? Well, we're gonna make it bigger once again just to create that line that you showed the bulging, and then we're gonna get even bigger in this particular round. So this is going to be quite a nice round to work with, and let's begin the second ring. So let's begin the second ring, and it's school bus yellow. This is the yellow in the B, and we're going to create a slip knot and put it onto the hook. Now remember when we did the slip stitching lines, those are in the slip stitch itself, so remember that the first one is just slightly over from it. Okay, just don't forget that. You probably have clued into that by now. And so what I want you to do is I want you to leave this straggler down on top of the line, and grabbing the yarn that goes to the ball, just pull through, chain up 1, and now we're ready to go. So let's begin, and we're gonna compensate because the last round what we did is that we made it smaller, so it's creating this bulge. Now we're gonna make it bigger to get it back to where it was so that it creates that line. So we're going to just chain up 1, which I've already did, and we're gonna do 2 single crochets into the same one, which is the first single crochet. Tighten up your stitches here, and when you go to crochet I want you to leave this down on top so that it goes right up over top of it. So let's 2 single crochets into the first one. So 1 and 2, and next 2 are going to be 1 single crochet each. Okay, so 1 and 2. Okay, the next one is going to be 2 single crochets into the same one, so 1 and 2, and then the next 2 are going to be by themselves. Okay, so before what we were doing in the last round is that we were making 2 together. So what we're doing is we're putting 2 into the same one to create that, to go back out to its regular size. Please do that same patterning all the way around. So 2 into the same, and then the next 2 are by themselves. So I'm coming up all the way around. I'm putting 2 into this one, and then the final 2 are just 1 single crochet each. So I've not done anything special. I'm just following the repeat pattern, and it takes me back to where it should. So I want to join it to the first single crochet. Now you can finally see my stitches. Okay, just join it with the slip stitch, and I'm going to move up the stitch marker because I have been, and I know it's easier for me to tell with the lighter yarn, but you know, old habits are hard to skip. So I like stitch markers that just really help me keep count of my project as I go, especially when it matters, when you have decreasing and increasing just like so. So let's move up, and we're gonna do the next one, which is the next round for the second ring. So the next round, what we want to do, remember when we were coming in the black area way down here somewhere, and we were doing 2 into the same one, and then we went 6, and then 2 into the same one, and then 6. Well, right now we're on the second round for the second ring, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna continue that same patterning going around to create the increase. So we're going to chain up 1, and what we're going to do is then put 2 single crochets into the same one. Okay. And then the next 7 are going to be 1 single crochet each. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So now that you got your 7 in there, the next one is 2 into the same one to create that increase. So that's the repeat pattern all the way around for the second one of doing the ring. And so it's 2 into the first one, 7 by itself, and then 2, and then continue that same pattern going all the way around. So in coming up all the way around, there's 2 into the same one, and then the final 7 are by themselves. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So then you just join it to the top of the first single crochet that you started with, right there, and you move up your stitch marker if you wish. We only have one more round of growth on this one for the second ring, and that makes it really quite easy. And then we're just gonna do single crochets for another 12 inches just like we had done already in the black. So let's move along. We're gonna chain up 1. So this is the next round in the second ring. The first one is gonna have 2 single crochets, and we're gonna do one more. This is the last round of growth for this second ring, and the next 8 are gonna be by themselves this time. So 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and then the next ones are 2 into the same one. Okay, so to continue that same pattern going all the way around, this is the last time you'll be growing it, and then we're gonna go 12 inches of just straight single crochets all the way around. So I'm coming up all the way around. The final 8 are by themselves. So I've counted, I'm just not counting with you. So we just join it to the top of the beginning single crochet, and now it becomes really easy from this point. So what I need you to do is I need you to do 12 inches of this yellow right from the start. Okay, so it's right from this point and going forward for 12 inches. All it is single crochet around and around until you get your 12, and then we're gonna meet back here, finalize that round off. So chain up 1, 1 single crochet into each, slip stitch when you get around, and then continue to go until it's 12 inches. I'll see you back here in just a moment, and it's gonna take me a bit to get there, and I'll be right back though here in camera time. Okay, so now I'm back. I have my base done here, ring number 1. Okay, first ring, and now second ring. So now I've got my 12 inches from here to here, and what I want to do is do my final round again. I need to create that kind of indentation that you see here, and we're going to be doing that next. So this is the final time that we're gonna go around with this yellow, and then we're gonna switch back to black then for the next ring. So let's insert our hook and let's begin the final round of this yellow before we switch back to black. Okay, the final round is just like how we did here. Okay, so it's just exactly the same. So we're gonna chain 1 to begin, and then what we're going to do is then the first 2 are together. So just insert in, pull, okay, and then insert into the next one, pull. You got 3 loops on the hook, pull through all 3. Okay, and then the next 2 are by themselves. So 1 and 2, and then the next 2 are together. So this is the repeat pattern all the way around. So the next one's in, pull, into the next one, pull. Here's your 3, pull through all 3. Okay, do you get that? So these 2 are by themselves, and then the next 2 are together. So in, pull, next one, pull, okay, together. Please do that all the way around for the final round of this yellow for the second ring. So I'm coming up all the way around on the final, and these are together because I'm keeping in line with the pattern, and then the final 2 are 1 single crochet each. We're now officially done the yellow. So what I want to do is attach it to the first one with the slip stitch, and let's fasten that off like I did with the black. I know it was difficult to see, so you can see how it's done this time if you missed it. So I'm just gonna cut the string, and I'm just going to pull the yarn through like so. Just pull on it, and then I want to weave it in and out of the edge. So now I'm gonna be ready for the black once again. Again, it's gonna be very difficult to see. Unfortunately, there's no technology that I have access to in order to make black easier to see here on camera. So I do understand that, and I suspect people will be making comments on that as well. So let's move along. We're ready now for the third ring, and this is what we have at this moment. Perfect. So let's get you started on the third ring, and we're still gonna make it a little bit bigger. So without further ado, let's get busy. So let's begin the third ring together. In the third ring, what we want to do, just like we did over here, we went narrow and then we bounced right back out, and we're gonna be doing the same here. So we just went narrow on the last round of this, if you remember, and now what we're gonna do is we're gonna bounce right back out to what the size was. So it creates that indentation of the bumblebee shape. So we're just gonna start up, and we're gonna start up here. Remember, I'm gonna move up my stitch marker one more time. It's just a lot easier to tell when you're working with this kind of yarn where you are. So I'm gonna start on the first one. Remember that the stitch marker was in the slip stitching area and not an actual stitch. So I'm gonna just move over and just attach it with a slip stitch. Okay, and just pull through. And I want to chain one. So I want to lay this one down on top of the line and go right over it as I go. So in this one here, we were getting decreasing on the last round, so this one we're going to increase, and it's just like we had already done before. So the first one we'll get 2 single crochets into the same one. Okay, so we're going to bounce it back out and make it bigger again, and then the next 2 are 1 single crochet each. Very easy, you already done this before. So the next one is gonna be 2 into the same one. Look how I'm going right up over top of that one right here. So it's gonna be buried right underneath, and the next 2 are by themselves. So I want you to continue this round all the way around. So the next one is 2 into the same one, and the next 2 are by themselves. Please do that all the way around. This is the first round of the third ring. I'm coming up all the way back around, and I'm just doing 2 in the same one, and then the final 2 are just 1 single crochet each, and then we just join it to the beginning single crochet at the top. So now we're gonna get a little bit bigger in the next round, and this is going to allow us to expand even more, because you notice it's still a little bit narrow. And as I finish this one here, I want to move up my stitch marker just like this, and I want to begin the next round. So let's begin, and let me tell you a little bit about that. So coming back to where we are, we're about here in the yellow, and we were doing a total of 8 single crochets in a row, and then 2 into the next one to make the growth bigger. So that's where we stopped before we started going all single crochet all the way around. So right up here now, we're gonna continue that same pattern going all the way around, and this time it's gonna be chain up 1, and then it's 2 single crochets into the first one. Okay, 2 into the first, and then the next 9 will be by themselves. So that continues that same pattern to get bigger in increments. So what we want to do is we want to go 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So now that you have your 9 in there, the next one is gonna be 2 into the same one to give you that bigger size that you need. Okay, so please go all the way around. So 2 in the same one, 9 by themselves, and then 2 into the next, and continue that same pattern all the way around. So I'm coming up all the way around. Here's my 2 into the same one there, and what I want to do then is the final into the final 9 is going to be 1 single crochet each. So 2, 3, and I can count it if I want to. I know it's accurate, I've already pre-counted. So the last 9 then will be 1 single crochet each. So you're just gonna get there, and then at the very end you're just going to join it to the top of the first single crochet, and that concludes that round, just like that. So I'm gonna move up my stitch marker, and let's move on to the next round. So let's move up another round. We're gonna chain 1, and then we're gonna increase yet again. So the first one is gonna have 2 single crochets in there, and then this time there's going to be 10 single crochets in a row. So let's count those out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And so you just have to keep repeating that all the way around. So the next one's gonna be 2 into the next one, and then another 10 by itself. Please do that all the way around for this round. The final going all the way around, then the last, here's the 2 into the same one, and the final 10 are by themselves. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So then we just join, and we have to grow one more time before we are moving on in this process. So let me just join it to the beginning. I'm always making sure I get 2 strands when I do so, and I want to move up my stitch marker, and we're gonna move up to the next round. We're gonna get one more bigger before we then just go single crochets all the way around for another 12-inch space. So let's continue and move up. So let's continue, and this is the final growth on this ring, ring number 3. And what we're going to do is we're gonna chain up 1 and then 2 into the same one, and then this time there will be 11 in a row. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, and then 2 again. So what's gonna happen here is that once you get this round done, which I'll leave this for you to do now, I need you just to go around just like you did before and do single crochets until the black measures 12 inches once again, and then we're going to come back and then we'll do a decrease round in order to create that look, and then move back to yellow. So please do that same thing all the way around. So 2 into 1 and then 11, and then 2 into 1 and 11, and continue then from this point forward of just single crochets around and around and around until this space equals 12 inches, and then I'll meet you back here at that time, and we'll continue along with this project. So in real time it'll be a while, but in camera time I will be right back. Okay, so I'm back, and now I'm finished, almost finished, ring number 3. And ring number 3, what's happening is that we have to do one more row. So I have my 12 inches done right here, and now I have to do my final row of doing the decrease once again, just like we did over here, to get it to do the bulge look once again. So let's just learn how to do this final round, and let's begin that one next. So in the final round is just like the other ones that we have done with the decrease. So what's gonna happen is that we're gonna chain 1, and then the first 2 are together. Okay, you already know how to do that, and then the next 2 are by themselves. Okay, so the next 2 are together, and then the next 2 are by themselves. Okay, so please do that all the way around, and this will conclude off ring number 3, and I'll be right back and we'll just finish this off, and then we'll move on to ring number 4. So I'm coming up to the final end, and the final 2 will be 2 single crochets if you're keeping it in balance. So you're just gonna slip stitch it to the top as usual. You're gonna move your stitch marker as usual, but now you're finished with black until you come again to the 5th round. So let's just trim this off. It's like we did before. Just trim it and then hide it in. So just pull this loop up and just weave it in to the top edge. So we're now going to move on to the 4th round, which is very similar, if not the same, as the 5th round. So we're going to be really excited about that, and let's continue along and move on to the next round. Okay, so let's move on to the 4th ring, and in this ring we're going to get to the final diameter and then work our way up as we approach the 5th and final ring. So let's crochet. So let's move along to the 4th round. In 4th round we're gonna have another increase. So what's happened in the last round is that we decreased in the last one. We're gonna start off the first one by doing an increase, but also in this round after this we're gonna increase it one more time in this particular ring, and then we're gonna continue with the single crochet all the way around. Let's create a slip knot, and let's insert your hook right into there. Remember, the stitch marker area doesn't count as a stitch, it's the one right over, just right beside it. And let's just join it, and if you've been following this long you'll know exactly where that is. Lay down your straggler as always, chain 1. Okay, and so then this one here is like it was before in the other ones when we did the increase right when we joined on a new color. It's gonna be the same thing as what we did before. So it's going to be 2 single crochets into the first one, and then the next 2 are 2 single crochets by themselves. Lay down that straggler and get it right up over top of it so that it gets stuck underneath the stitches. Okay, so there's 2 by themselves. The next one is 2 into the same one. So that's the repeat pattern all the way around this thing. So 2 into the same and then 2 by themselves. Please do that for this entire round. So in keeping with the pattern all the way around, the final 2 are just single crochets, and then you just join it to the top of the beginning. And I'm going to move up my stitch marker just to make it easier for myself. And what I want to do then is that we're going to do another increase to get this circle to be even bigger. Now for those that have done the shark sack with us and the other ones that we have, this one actually has a wider mouth at the top for probably an older child, just to be aware of that, because the shark I believe was 80 stitches all the way around. We're now going to hit so that it's 112, so it is a much difference. That's why it takes up more yarn as well. So let's begin. We're going to do the next round and we're gonna do an increase. Remember in the last round when we were here in the black that we did 11 single crochets in a row and then 2 into the next one. So we're gonna continue that same path, but now because we're now even bigger, we're now gonna continue this way. So we're gonna chain up 1 and we're gonna put 2 into the same one, and then the next 12 are gonna be by themselves. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8, and then we have 9, 10, 11, and 12. So now that your 12 are in, the next one is gonna have 2 into the same one, and then again another 12 by themselves, and then 2 into the next. Please do that all the way around for this round. So I'm coming up to the end of this round, and you should have 12 single crochets in a row in order to join it to the top of the beginning. So we're going to move on to the next part of the ring, and all of it is just single crochet now for another 12 inches like you already know. So let's just join it to the top there. Okay, so all you're just gonna do now, again like you did with the black, is that we're not increasing anymore in this, but I need you to get this yellow now to be 12 inches, and then when we come back on this particular ring, we're not only gonna decrease once like we had over here, but we're gonna decrease twice in order to do that, and then we are then gonna move up. So let's continue along in this journey, and I need you to do single crochets now up until the point of 12 inches for this yellow. So we'll be back and I'll see you in just a moment. Through the miracle of filming, I now have it complete. So I've been working on it quietly behind the scenes. So I left you over here. I've got 12 inches done, and now ring number 4 finishes different from the other rings, and the reason for that is that ring number 5 is the same width all the way across, and because of that we're gonna decrease twice and then increase twice then when we come and do the 5th ring, because it's the same size. It has more of an indentation to make it look a little more believable, because here when we did this one here we were getting bigger anyway as the project grew, and therefore this indentation would look different here if it's treated the same way. So let's get the final 2 rounds done, and this is ring number 4. So this decrease is different from the ones that we've been doing over here. Okay, so this first one is slightly different, and we're going to chain up 1 and we're going to do 2 together. So the first one that we do, we're gonna pull through, and the next one are 2 together, and this time then going all the way across is that we are going to do 12 single crochets in a row. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, 11, and 12. So once you get your 12 in there, the next ones are 2 together. So please do that all the way across. So 12 single crochets in a row, and then the next 2 are together, and please do that all the way around. So I'm coming up all the way to the end of this round, and the final should be 12 single crochets in a row. I've already pre-counted before filming this segment, so I know that there's 12 here so I can chat. So just get this done. We got one more round to go and then yellow is done, and then we're gonna finish off with the yellow, and the next time you're gonna use the yellow then is just on the tip of the wings in order to do that. So we're just gonna finish this one off. Go up to the first single crochet, move up your stitch marker. I've been pretty good about that for this whole project, and move along, and let's do the final round of the yellow. So the final round of the yellow is just like we've been treating with the black areas as we've been finishing off. So this time it is chain 1 and bring the first 2 together and then 2 singles in a row. So 1 and 2, and the next one is together and then 2 singles in a row. Please do that all the way around, and I'll meet you at the end of this revolution. So in keeping with the pattern, the final 2 are just gonna be one single crochet each. So that's it for the yellow. The next time we're gonna use this now will be on the wings, so you're just gonna have to leave that yellow aside. I want you to finish it off like you did before. We're gonna start ring number 5 next. Ring number 5 is the final. You're noticing how big this particular item is. It's actually a lot bigger in person than I expected it to be. So we're just gonna weave in the ends, and we're gonna move up to ring number 5 next. Okay, so we're almost at the finish line for doing the body. So let's move up to the 5th and final ring, and we're gonna do something slightly different right at the very end, but it's not a big deal. You can do this, and it's going to be the same diameter as the 4th ring, so we just have to create that little bit of bulge and then just continue and finish this off. Sounds more complicated than it is, but let's get going. So let's quickly review the ring 5. The 5th ring is right here. Now the 5th ring and the 4th ring are very similar to each other. The only difference is that the ending right here on the 4th ring is different from the ending over here. The only difference is that there's one instruction missing, which is the 2 single crochet together and then 2 single crochets in a row. That's what's missing on this one here, but everything else in the 4th round is the same as in here. So we're gonna do another 12 inches then of this, and we need to increase twice just like this, so we're following the same instructions for here. Now you're thinking to yourself, why did we decrease twice here when we've only decreased once in the rest of them? The difference is that this diameter and this diameter are the same. So what's gonna happen is that we're decreasing twice to create that overlook feeling, because what's happened here is when we decrease, we bulge out even more to make it bigger, where here, because it's the same diameter, we are increasing more to create that bulge that we have along the bee's body. So without further ado, let's move along to the 5th ring. So I'm bringing back the black. I'm gonna create a slip knot first, and I'm going to start right where I have my stitch marker. So remember, the stitch marker is where it's slip stitch, so I'm starting the one over. Okay, so we're going to begin to do that first, and what I want to do is just join it with the slip stitch, and we're going to do the increasing like we had done on number 4 in this particular one. So the last one, if you remember, we did 2 single crochets together and then 2 by themselves. So in this round what we're doing is we're doing the opposite to this. So we're gonna chain up 1, and we're gonna put 2 single crochets into the first one. Lay this down on top so that it gets stuck underneath. So that was 1 and 2, like so, and then the next 2 are by themselves. So 1 and 2. Okay, so the next ones are 2 into the same one, so 1 and 2. It's always a little difficult to always do things with these stragglers when we're starting off things, so just be aware of that. So the next 2 are by themselves, so just 1 single crochet, and I keep burying in that loose end until I run out of yarn really with that, and then the next one's 2. So please continue that same pattern going all the way around, so 2 into 1, and then the next 2 are by themselves. And I buried this in enough, so I'm just gonna trim it out and take that away and continue. So I'll see you at the end of this round. So you're gonna finish off then with 2 into the same and 1 single crochet into each of the final 2, and then you're back to where you were. So just join it to the top of the first single crochet. Again, I know it's black, I know it's hard to see. Unfortunately, bees are not a different color than that, well, at least the ones that we're doing today. So let's move on. We're gonna do one more increase, and then you're back to single crochet for your 12 inches of space. Let's move along to round number 2. So round number 2 is just like the 4th ring, and we're gonna chain up 1, and we're gonna put 2 into the first one, So 1 and 2, and this time then there will be 12 single crochets in a row. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So now that 12 are there, the next one is going to be 2 into the same one. So 1 and 2. So continue that same pattern going all the way around. By the way, when I'm crocheting this off camera, because my table is so small, my balls are really quite close to the project, so therefore they keep getting sucked into my project. That doesn't usually happen when I'm crocheting on my own. So let's continue. So just remember 12 single crochets in a row and then 2 into the next one. So 12 and then 2, 12 and 2. Please do that all the way around. So I'm coming up all the way around. There's 2 into that one and I'm just finished. So I'm coming up all the way around. I've already put in my 2 and the final 12 are just 1 single crochet each. I've actually counted already just before taping, just to make sure that there was 12 here. So what we're going to do then next is that the remainder of this cocoon now is just single crochet up for 12 inches, and then we're gonna meet back and we're gonna do 1 decrease only, and then the cocoon itself is done for this bee. And so then we can move along to the end of the process. So please just once you get in here, just attach it to the first single crochet with a slip stitch. Move up your stitch marker if you wish, right underneath, so that it helps you. I like the stitch markers. It really gives me a really clear indication where to stop and start with this thing, and continue. So please can now get 12 inches done from this point all the way to the top, and then meet me back here and we'll do 1 decrease, and then we'll continue along in this project for going to the wings next. So now we're back. I have this done and now I'm ready for my final round, which is gonna decrease it. So if you remember from the 4th ring here, we decreased it twice, and if you look at the instructions, we're only gonna decrease once. So this time what we're going to do then on the final round, before we're done this whole cocoon itself, is that we're going to chain up 1, and what we're going to do is then put in 2 together for the first 2, and then there's gonna be 12 single crochets in a row. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So once you get your 12 done, then just the next 2 are together. Okay, so do that all the way around, and then once you get this round done, you're completely done on the cocoon, and then we're gonna move on to the wings after that. So do this round and I'll see you back here in just a moment. So I'm keeping with the pattern and I'm just going all the way along. Then the finals are going to be single crochets, the final 12, and then what we're going to do then is that I'm gonna show you how to weave in the ends using a darning needle. In this case, this is the final edge where the child will grab onto in order to slip inside, and so you want this final tail end to be nice and secure in. So you're just gonna slip stitch it to the beginning, single crochet like you had been all along. So here it is with my stitch marker, and there you go. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm going to trim this off, okay, and I'm just gonna leave it about 12 inches or so, okay, and I'm just gonna pull up and pull this through. Okay, so I'm gonna remove my stitch marker because I can. So that's out, and I'm gonna grab a darning needle. In the darning needle I'm gonna slip it in to the needle, and you want to go in and out 3 times. So my biggest thing is that if you go in and out of the project 3 times, then it can last. So you're gonna go in, so you're just gonna go underneath the stitches, just use your fingers, kind of making sure it's staying in the middle, and then coming out about an inch or so, about an inch, 2 inches, and then pull through. So when you pull through, you don't want to reef on it so that it loses its flexibility, in the sense that you look like it buckles, and then you're gonna go in and go back in the other direction through a different path, because if you go in the same path it'll fall out. So different direction. This is number 2, and then going back in final through another path for number 3. So your project can never stretch in 3 different directions at the same time to fall out. So if you go in and out 3 times just like so, this tail end will never fall out of your work. Okay, so now that it's in, I can safely just cut it right down to the project, And other than the slip stitch then catching your eye, you would never know that you finished your work right here. So this is the conclusion of doing the cocoon itself without doing the wing. So here's the top where the child slips into, and then you can see then we went to yellow, and then we went back to black as we work our way back down, and we were at yellow, and then the very final then with the stinger was black. So this is really cool, and this is the side with the slip stitching, but do you see it? Now it's kinda not hard because it's not on this side. It's actually on the other side. Let me show you what it looks like for the slip stitching. It's all the way down and a solid line all the way. Do you see it? It's almost invisible, and it's perfect because you don't want your slip stitching to be that obvious anyway. So this is how you do this part. Let's move on to the next part where we're gonna start exploring the wings next. Now that the body is complete, we're going to move up into the small wing. The small wing has a complementary crochet diagram, including the large wing as well, and it'll accompany it with the words and the diagram so that you can see where the stitches are going to go. I'm going to do my best to explain the stitches as they go, and the entire wing will be filmed through this step. This sounds a lot more complicated than it is, and if you know how to read crochet diagrams or even read patterns, I think this will be a great asset, but of course you can follow along as well. So let's begin to do the small wing together. So the large wing and the small wing are very similar to each other. In fact, the white area that you see here is actually the same stitch work that you see here in the big one. The fact is that there's more rounds in the big one to make it bigger. So it actually makes a lot of sense when you see it from that point of view. And we're also going to be reducing our hook now for a 6.5mm size K crochet hook today. And we're going to examine this pattern now. I have the diagram available that's available in this pattern, and I've dissected it to be able to teach you how to do these wings. So let's move along to the small wing. So what you're looking at here is the crochet diagram that's available inside the pattern, and I've dissected it to giving you key elements to what to look for when it comes to this. So if you've never done crochet patterns before like this, then I'm going to show you how to read this, because I want to show you the similarities of what is happening inside this pattern so that you can read it a lot easier. I have to say that the use of stitch markers and etc. for the wings is really critical for this particular pattern. You will see that it will make a lot of sense as we continue. So let me show you a little bit more about this pattern, and then we're going to dive into the actual handwork after that. So here is the pattern diagram, and you can see it's going in a complete circle. Okay, so every time we get back around we have a dot, which means it's a slip stitch, and there's a diagram key available in the pattern as well for you to be able to follow. So we're going to start off by chaining of 10, and then we're going to do a single crochet, second chain from the hook, and then work our way back across the chain, and at the end of this chain we're going to put 7, and we're going to rotate it and come around the underside of the chain to create the circle. So the middle of the circle is actually this chain that you see here. So what's going to happen is that every rotation that we go around is going to get bigger and bigger around here. So this time it was 7. The next time it's going to be branching off. There will be 3, and then 1 by itself, and then 3, 1 by itself, and then 3, and then continuing. So here's the trick. As you're getting bigger, this distance of going around gets bigger. So just think about track and field when you were a kid and you were put in a certain line in the track, and you realize that on the outside you'd have to run a lot farther than the people that run in the middle. Because of that fact is that the crochet works very much in the same way. So when you see here, you see 2 double crochets by itself, and then you do the 7. The next one, there's 3 double crochets by itself, and then you're starting the stitch work. There's 4. There's 5. So what I have here is the number of the double crochet increases the further out that you get. And when you look at it, this is like a pond. So what this is kind of like the line in the pond, and this is a reflection that you see down here. So what is happening up here is happening down here. So why have I highlighted these particular lines here and ended it flat here? Well, that's pretty simple. Let me tell you why. So we talked about the pattern being a reflection. So here is the water line here, and what's happening up here is happening down here. So when you're doing this pattern and you're reading the instructions, it doesn't feel that way. But when you see it in a diagram format just like so, you can completely see that the stitches are completely lined up to each other. So what's going to happen is that we are starting off, and let's look at line number 3. So it says 3 single crochets in the first, 3 half double crochets, and then 4 double crochets. And right where this is branching off, and this happens in all of the lines where it starts, is that it will say 3 double crochets in the next stitch, and then 1 double crochet in the next, and repeat that 5 times. That's what it will say for this particular line. So then if you repeat that 5 times, so you got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and because of that you end up right here. Okay, so this is where the pattern then picks back up, and it will say 3 double crochets into the next, and say 3 half doubles into the next, and 3 singles in the next, and then you'll run back into the outside over here. So this is an easy way to be able to tell this particular pattern when you're working on it. So what I did for myself is that I blew this diagram up even more. And what I did is that with the stitch marker, or sorry, with the highlighter, I just highlighted where it starts to branch off to give me clues on what I'm looking for. What's with these? Do you see those? Those are not all the way down because they don't start branching off until this round. So when you looked at it from this perspective here, you'll see that in round number 3, this is when those got introduced. So these 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 5 branches, the 2 right here and here do not start until round number 3. And so that just makes it easier. Now when you're looking at the bigger pattern, for example, you're looking at the one that for the larger wings, all this line is gone, the outside, because that's the border for the small wings, and then there's 2 more rows that are added on, and when you follow it back out, it's just even bigger. So it's just a lot easier to be able to function. Also, when you're working with this, you're going to notice that there's a constant. So the constant is that these 3 half double crochets and 3 single crochets, both sides of the water line, okay, are always constant. See how they're matching up with each other? And don't worry about this outside border. Okay, those don't match. Don't worry about that, because it's just right here, right to round number 4 is where you need to worry about. And that makes sense. Then on the outside, what's going to happen is that we're going to do exactly kind of what we've done here, but this is a smaller looking circle. So when I blow it up just like so, we're coming all the way around. Again, it's going to start branching off. So this is what's constant. Everything from here down is constant, and this is the semicircle. And when you're following it around, it just makes a lot more sense if you can just highlight it and map it out for yourself in order to speed yourself up. So this is a great little tool to be able to kind of work out as things become a little bit complicated. Doing this kind of pattern is really kind of hard just reading the instructions alone. So the designers have provided this pattern. You can see that the way that I marked it up, and the larger one is very similar. Let me give you a preview of the larger one, because then you know what you're in for the next one. So here's what the larger one looks like. So the larger one looks very similar to it. So round number 4 is where the wing of the small stops, but round number 4 here is the exact same round. So everything is the exact same, but rounds number 5 and 6 are now added to it, and all it is just bigger. There's more double crochets to get there. There's more double crochets in the middle that separate this whole group of 5 that we have. And what we have is we have our constant of this areas of the half double crochets and single crochets all lining up. Again, don't worry about this outside edge, that's different. And then we end up in the section at the base where it's just getting bigger and bigger. So I've highlighted everything in the fuchsia with just a single crochet that sits by itself, and the other ones had 2 double crochets into the same stitch. And when you look at it from this perspective, you can see how it's growing quite nicely as you go all the way around. So when you look at it from this perspective, it's almost like a deer's antlers. It's all going to mesh. So what's happening on one side of the water line here is happening on the other. And when you can see this particular pattern done in this perspective, it gets a lot easier to be able to function. So let's try our work. You're going to need a 6.5mm size K crochet hook today, and let's begin the small wing. And the small wing is this one, and again this pattern is available for you online in order to mark it up if you need to. So let's begin. We're going to start right in the middle here and work our way back around. The usage of stitch markers are huge. Let me tell you a little bit about that too, and I'll be right back. So here's what one of the wings look like. What does look similar when you look at them side by side? The stitch markers. So the stitch markers, what I did is that I put the stitch markers in where the middle is of the groups of 3, just like you see on both sides, and I left them in just to show you that I did that. I also did a stitch marker along the base here in order for me to follow as I went all the way around. These stitch markers really help me a lot because it shows me every time I'm moving up in a particular pattern is that whenever I hit a stitch marker, I know that the next group of 3 that are going to sit into the same stitch is right at that stitch marker. So when I follow it up, for example, You follow it up here. See, this is the middle of a group of 3, like so. And then you do the same thing. This is the middle. Here's the stitch marker once again, and then I've done it right to the end. I didn't really need to go right to the end, but I did it for tutorial reasons. And I also did this for the bigger version of the stitch markers, just like so. So all it is, it's different. So look at the size difference. Okay, this is just a smaller one. It's just sitting inside, and because there's 2 extra rows in order to make it bigger. So when you look at it from this perspective, so what I want you to do is that I want you to grab 6 of these stitch markers. They're just spare yarn, about 12 inches long. Get them a nice color, and we're gonna be using those, and I'm gonna show you how to use those in order to keep count. They will save your life on this particular project. I think they'll come in quite handy for you. Okay, so let's begin, and I have 6 stitch markers, just spare yarn, and they're just about 12 inches long. For tutorial reasons I cannot use white here on the background because you'll never see it. Once I remove the stitch markers, you'll never be able to see the stitch work. So I'm gonna use pink, and I've already done my wings in advance so that I could understand this pattern as well. So let's begin. We're going to start off with this slip knot to begin, and we're going to chain 10. So remember 6.5 size K crochet hook. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So there's your starting chain. So what we want to do now is that we want to come back along the chain, zip around the back side, and come up on the underside. So we're gonna go second chain from the hook. So count back 1 and 2, and I want you to single crochet into that one. And before you move on, I want you to put 1 stitch marker in right into that same stitch that you just did. This will represent when you're coming back around. It will help you give a good indication of when you're back around. I tried doing this pattern without stitch markers. These will save your life. So what I want you to do now is that there's gonna be 1 single crochet in the next 2. So 1 and 2. Okay, so there's your constant that we talked about. The next 3 are going to be half double crochets, so there's your next constant. So that will never change its position when you're working on these things. So there's 3 half double crochets in a row. And now we're gonna do 2 double crochets in a row. Okay, for this one, this is coming along the chain, and you're left with 1 stitch. Well, that 1 stitch is going to be the one that loops around the back. So the last stitch, we want to put a total of 7 double crochets that go into that one. So we've got 1, and let's put all 7 in, and then I'll show you the trick. So we got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So stop here, do not go any further. What I want you to do is that we've got a total of 7, and I showed you in the chart, and let me pull that chart up for you again, and let me show you where you are. So here you are in the chart, and you have 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What I want us to do is that I want us to put 3 stitch markers in strategically on the second one, the middle one, and this one here, the 6th one. So what we're doing is we're establishing where this is gonna be branching out then from this point. So that's what we're up to. So let's look at this, and all 7, if you pull it back, all 7 will be right there. Okay? Just like there. So the second one, what I want you to do is stick your needle back into the top of the stitch and grab a spare stitch marker and pull it through. Not all the way through, obviously, just leave it hanging there. And then I want you to skip 1, go to the next one. This is the middle one. And grab another stitch marker. Again, just pull a portion of it through. And then come in to skip 1 and go to the one just before the end. Okay, so this is the last one. Go to the second one over, and that will represent the 3 spokes that you currently can see at this particular size, and we're gonna have a total of 5 eventually as we move around. So now you have the outsides marked, and now we're gonna continue down the side of the chain. So jumping over to the next chain here, we want to, and see how I just turned it? Okay, so we're now on the underside of it. So we're gonna do 2 double crochets in a row. So just working in the chain. So 1 and 2. This is 2 in a row. And now the 3 half double crochets are next, and that's your constant. Okay, so that will never change. So you got 1, 2 and 3. And now we're gonna finish off with some single crochets. So the next 2 are going to be 1 single crochet each. So 1 and 2. And the final one that you have here is going to have 2 single crochets in. So 1 and 2. And I want you to join it to the top of the first stitch marker that you started with. And now what's happened is that 2 plus this one now equals the 3 that's on the edge of your particular wing. So let's move up and let's do round number 2. Well, the counts are certainly very important, and so what I did off camera when I was doing this particular pattern is that I would count back. So sometimes I would chain up 1 and then I wasn't sure where the single crochet should go. It should go directly into the same one, but sometimes you get a little confused. So what I did for myself is that I looked to the stitch marker, okay, and then I went backward. So I counted back in order to get it. So there's 3 double crochets, 3 half double crochets, and 3 singles in order to do that. You may think it's kind of a crazy way to do that, but sometimes you can start up and all of a sudden you didn't start here like you should have, and you're 1 late, and so when you're looking at this and using this as the key to count back to starting, it makes a huge difference, because there's nothing worse than getting all this way and realizing that you don't have enough stitch work. So that's just something I did for myself, and hopefully that'll help you out as well. So when looking at my sample and counting back, the way that I did is that the middle one is represented by the stitch marker. So I know that I have 3 double crochets that need to go in there. So I count 1, 2, 3. I know that I have 3 half double crochets, 1, 2 and 3, and then 3 single crochets, 1, 2 and 3. So this one here is my starting. So I just do that just as a verification. So you're gonna just chain 1 and then begin in the first one, and you're going to single crochet. And before you do anything, just move up that stitch marker. So just coming up underneath the stitch and just pull through that stitch marker to help you see that at the end. With this fluffy yarn, it's not always easy, and so it's just a little tip, and it doesn't take you that long. So you're gonna single crochet into the next 2. So 1 and 2. So that's part of your constant. The next 3 are half double crochets. So 1, 2 and 3. The next 3 are double crochets. So 1, 2 and 3, and look at that. So we're at the stitch right before that stitch marker, which indicates that's the middle of the spoke. So we now have 3 double crochets right before the stitch marker. So the stitch marker indicates to us where we are, and that's the one that's gonna have 3 double crochets in it, and then the next one is gonna be by itself. 3 double crochets into this one, and then by itself. So the repeat pattern is a total of 3 times. So what I want you to do in the next one with the stitch marker, you're gonna put in 3 double crochets. So 1, and watch what I do. This will help you. 2 and 3. In the third one that you are, sorry, in the middle one of the 3 that you just did, okay, just pull this out so it's not the last one, but in the middle, I want you to stick the needle from the back, or the hook from the back, and pull a portion of that stitch marker through. That is the new middle of this particular stitch. The next one is 1 single crochet by itself, and then the next stitch has a stitch marker again, which indicates that's another spoke. So there's gonna be 3 into that one as well. So 1, 2 and 3, and then I want you to go to the middle one of those 3 again. So just not this one, it's the second one back, and pull a portion of that stitch marker through, and that will indicate the next time you run back into that space. The next one is 1 single crochet or 1 double crochet by itself, and then you're back on a stitch marker once again. So there's gonna be 3 into that one. So 1, 2, and 3. Again, move that stitch marker up to the middle one of those 3. And then for the repeat pattern, it's 1 double crochet into the next. So it's like the highlighting showed you. So this was the end of the repeat pattern as you went all the way around. So let's carry on, and we're going to continue. The next 2 are going to be 1 double crochet each. 1 and 2. The next 3 are half double crochets. So 1, 2, 3. That's part of your constant. The next 3 on this one here is going to be 1 single crochet each. So 1, 2, and 3. And your 1 stitch right before the stitch marker, which is your last stitch, and there's going to be 3 single crochets into that same stitch. And then I want you to slip stitch to where that one is in the black, and before you move forward, move that stitch marker right up underneath that as well, the new section, and then you have that marked. So that was round number 2, and this is kind of what's going on here, so you can kind of see how everything is kind of working out. So as we move up to round number 3, we're gonna then get bigger and bigger. So this time there's gonna be 4 double crochets before we start this. Now these ones right in the middle, round number 3, is when we're gonna start the new branches that are gonna make up these ones that are right here. Okay, and it's just easy to tell, it's the one that's right in the middle. So there's gonna be 3 stitches by themselves. It's the one right in the middle that ends up branching into the new section, just like you see, and we'll be adding stitch markers at that point, coming all the way around. Again, we're just going to continue, and this time there's gonna be more branching off here on the outside. So we're gonna finish with 2 double crochets into one, 3 into the next, 2 into the next, and then slip stitch to the beginning. Let's begin this round number 3. So as I start now round number 3, I like to count back as I mentioned before. So here's the stitch marker, and I saw in the pattern that there's 4 double crochets that stand by itself this time. So I count back starting at the next one. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. There's gonna be 3 half doubles in a row, 1, 2, 3, and then 3 singles, 1, 2, and 3. So I'm back to where I've started. I found this quite handy to do because sometimes you can get confused. So we're gonna chain up 1, and starting right where we are, we're going to put 3 single crochets in a row. So 1, 2, 3. The next ones are 3 halves in a row. So 1, 2, and 3. And then this time in round number 3 there's gonna be 4 double crochets that sit by themselves. So 1, 2, and 3. And 4. So 4 by themselves right here, and then we're gonna start going around the outside. So right where the stitch marker is, that's where we're gonna start branching off and doing the repeat pattern. So in this one here we're going to put 3 double crochets into the same stitch. Again, move up that stitch marker. Once you have those 3 in, move it to the middle one. You'll thank yourself if you're doing it this way. Okay, the next one is going to be 1 double crochet by itself, and the next one is going to be 3 double crochets there, okay, into that one. So you got 1, 2, and 3. So this is the new branching off section. So in the middle one of the 3, add another stitch marker. Just like there. Okay, 1 double crochet into the next, and now you're into the middle section here, and there's the stitch marker, so that must mean there's 3 in this one. So 1, 2, and 3. Okay, move that stitch marker to the middle one of the 3. Okay, 1 double crochet into the next. Next one is a new branch, so there's gonna be 3 double crochets here. So 1, 2, and 3. Again, the middle one of the 3. Grab your final stitch marker that you've been saving. So you have a total of 5 of them in now. And then the next one is 1 double crochet by itself. And then the final here, this is a stitch marker, so there's got to be 3 in this one too. So 1, 2, and 3. Move that stitch marker to the middle one of the 3. And to finish the repeat pattern on this particular one, it is 1 double crochet by itself. And then we're gonna start moving down the other side. So you see what we have here when we look at it? So we have the first one, here's the new branch, we have the next one, okay, here's the new branch for the next one here, and then the final. So let's move down this side. There's gonna be 3 double crochets in a row. So 1, 2, and 3. Okay, here's your constant coming up, which is your half double crochets. There's gonna be 3 of those. So 1, 2, and 3. Okay, you're gonna have 3 single crochets in a row. That's still your constant. So 1, 2, and 3. And now as we make our way around the outside, there's 3 stitches left. So the next stitch is gonna have 2 singles. So 1 and 2. The next stitch is gonna have 3 singles. So 1, 2, and 3. And the final stitch available to you is gonna be 2 singles. So 1 and 2. And I want you to join it to the top of the first single crochet, just like so. So that was round number 3. So this is what it looks like so far. I'm back to the diagram, and now we're gonna go for round number 4. So we have our constant for number 4. This time there's gonna be 5 double crochets by itself, and then we start the branching. So right where we have our our stitch markers is where it's going to continue to branch off into 3. So really you can think about it from this perspective, and this will help you with the large one too, is that really if there's no stitch marker, then you just put 1, and if there's a stitch marker you put in 3, and then you continue to move your stitch marker up into the middle one as you see as you come all the way around. And as we come all the way around, you're just gonna follow. So there's going to be in this time 3 double crochets that sit by themselves between the groups of 5 right up to the end, and then we start coming back around, and then we have a little bit more branching off happening on the end, and then the next round after that is the border, and the small wing is then complete. So we're now going to begin round number 4. So again, I like to count back, so I know that there's 5 double crochets that sit like one after the other here. So this is the middle one, so I start the next one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3 halves, 1, 2, 3, 3 singles, 1, 2, and 3. So I'm back to where I've started, and that really gives me an indication, make sure I'm on the right track. So we're gonna chain up 1 and 1 single crochet into each of the next 3. Okay, and then there's gonna be 3 halves in next. I found when I was doing this, when I was not counting back like that, I was just getting the wrong stitch. I don't know what was wrong with me, but it helps me verify that, and I think it's a great little tip. So now we're gonna have 5 double crochets in a row. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and the next one should be the stitch marker, which it is. So let's make our way around. So the next one is going to be 3 double crochets. You don't really need to move up the stitch marker at this point. It doesn't matter from this point forward in this particular size. If it was a larger one, I would say absolutely. So I'm just going to leave it where it is. The next 3 are going to be by itself, so 3 double crochets in a row. So 1, 2, and 3. Okay, the next one where the stitch marker is going to be 3 into that one. So 1, 2, and 3. and I'm not gonna move up the stitch marker. The next 3 are by themselves, so 1, 2, and 3, and then the next one is the stitch marker, so pull that back, and there's gonna be 3 double crochets in that one. 1, 2, and 3. The next one is 3 double crochets in a row, so 1, 2, and 3. Okay, the next one is the stitch marker. There's gonna be 3 double crochets into that one, so 1, 2, and 3. It's gonna be 3 double crochets into that, into the next 1 double crochet into the next 3, so 1, 2, and 3. And here's your last stitch marker. So do you see how the stitch markers kind of help me kind of keep orientation? It's sometimes easier to have those visual cues than it is to count and making sure that I did repeat 5 times as it says in the pattern. Just look for those stitch markers, and then you're gonna double crochet in the next 3 to finish that repeat pattern off for that as we come around. And now we're gonna start coming along the side of the there. So the repeat pattern's been done. You can see that everything's been kind of worked out. And so now what we're going to do as we continue is that the next 2 will be 1 double crochet each. 1 and 2. Okay, the next 3 are going to be half double crochet. Here's your constant. So 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and then your next 3 are by themselves of single crochet. So 1, 2, and 3. So that's your constant done. We still have to work our way around the bottom side. So what we have here, the first one is gonna be 2 single crochets, so 1 and 2. The next one is a 1 single crochet by itself. The next one is 2 single crochets into the same one, so 1 and 2. The next one is 1 single crochet by itself. The next one is 2 single crochets into the same one, so 1 and 2. The next one is 1 single crochet by itself, and the final one is 2 single crochets into the same one, like so. And just look at the pattern, you'll see that it all works out, and then you just join it to the top of the first single crochet. So this concludes how to do the wings, except for we need to add the border to it, which is round number 5. So what I want to do is I want to add the final border, so I'm gonna trim off the white like so, and I'm just gonna pull it through. I'm just gonna weave it in. Don't refine that too much, you'll distort it, so just kind of keep it nice and loose, and the next time you go around it you're gonna hide this particular strand in. So you're gonna notice it's kind of buckling like it's in my hands, and so at the end of this you can use a wet, just make it damp and then just lay it down and block. I have to say I blocked mine. Okay, this is kind of the same thing, and what I want to do is I want to remove out the stitch markers. They don't matter at this point. You can save those for the next one. And I can trim off this one that I was weaving in. And so now we're going to begin doing the border. So just give it a few good stretches, and then you can just wet block it just down to just damp it up a bit. Lay it like this upside down, force it down and out, and just let it just kind of dry out. I used a steamer as well, so I just did that down. Okay, so let's move along and do the 5th round. So here we go with the 5th round, and the 5th round is really quite simple. We're gonna start up and we're going to just do 4 single crochets in a row. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 2 into the next, and then right from this point then it's gonna be 5 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 2, 5 and 2, 5 and 2, and at the end you're going to end up with 2 single crochets into the same, and then the final is 1 single crochet that sits by itself before you join it to begin. So we're just gonna start here and work our way around. This is really quite a no-brainer round. Okay, so let's begin, and I'm going to just start exactly where I finished off. Okay, and it's right there. Insert the hook, Do not tie a loop or anything like this. Just leave it like this and just insert into the project, so there's no slip knot at all. Chain up 1 and you're gonna do 1 single crochet into that one. Leave this straggler down on top so that it gets stuck underneath, and I want you to do 4 single crochets in a row. So that was 1, just move along the outside, 2 and 3, 4. Okay, so we got 4 now here. The next one is gonna be 2 single crochets into the same one. So your repeat pattern for the remainder of this particular project, let me just get this one done, is 5 single crochets in a row. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, and then 2 single crochets into the next. So continue that same idea all the way around. So 5 singles in a row and then 2 into the next, and I'll see you at the end of this round. So as I come up all the way around, I got 2 stitches left. This one is keeping within the pattern, so it's 2 singles into the same one, and then the final stitch is just 1 single by itself, and then you're just going to attach it to the beginning single crochet. You will find that this particular round will stabilize this round, stabilize these wings and make them relax and sit better, and it'll make a world of difference when you go to block these at the end. So this is the conclusion, and you'll want to use a darning needle like I've demonstrated before, just hiding in your stitches, and this is a really great concept. So you're gonna dampen this. You can put like a wet rag over it and just let it absorb a little bit of water, then lay it down with the face down, make sure it's clean underneath, and just kind of force it and let it sit and dry just like so. I used a steamer, and so you'll have a lot better results when you look at it from once it's been steamed, and it will sit nicely. So is there a difference of right and left? Absolutely not. So depending on how you position it on the bee, this could be the right side. Position it this way, it could be the left. And so this just makes a really kind of a neat concept, and you need to do 2 of these, and then when we come back we're gonna start the large wings next. So this is how to do the smaller wings. So one more step to complete is the larger wing. So you need to do 2 small wings, 2 big wings, and then you're good to go. So the smaller wing is very similar to the larger wing. There's just a few more rounds, and you can do this, and once you understand the steps that were involved in moving the stitch markers around, you can see how quickly that you can make these wings at the same time. So let's get going. I'm making the larger wing. So let's move along to number 7. The large wing is the final that we have to do in order to bring this whole bee into conclusion. Now the large wing and the small wing, like I've already explained in section number 6, is that it's the same thing except for there's a few extra rows that are adding to it. So when we did the small one, we just had this here, and so then the larger one is much bigger. I wouldn't say much bigger. It's a couple rounds more bigger, and see if you sit them inside you can see the difference of the sizing. It's not too significant, but the concepts are the same of the way that we're gonna do it, and because they're very similar it makes it quite easy to follow. So if I were you, make sure you do both the small at the same time and then do the large at the same time. It just makes it a lot easier to follow. So I have a chart, and let's go through that next. So in section number 6 we had the small wing just like you see here, and there was 4 rounds that went all the way around, and then the 5th round was the border that went all the way around. Okay, so rounds just like this. Okay, so what we have here is that the 5th round is being removed off of the large one and being changed to something different in order to make this happen. Again, the spokes are the same. Just like we did here, it's the same thing. So let's show you the other one that we have. So here's the larger version. So you can count on rounds number 1 through 4 being the exact same as the wing, the small wing, but now we have 5, 6, and 7 as 5 and 6 are different, and then number 7 is similar to the border on the first one. There's just more stitches between each of the ones that have a double. So let's explain this a little bit more in detail for those that are skipping ahead and just needing help with this one. So the diagram is available on Yarnspirations.com. It will not have all this marking up. This is just for helping me to teach you on how to do this. So what we're going to do is that just like the small one, we're going to start off in the middle and go around, and we're going to do our rounds just like we did up until round number 4. So round number 5 we continue the story, and again it's like the other one. So the double crochets are increasing in the spaces in order to compensate for the circle. Just think about it like a track and field race where you're stuck in one of these and that you have to go. So if you're in the next one, you have to go a little bit further, so you have to add on extra stitches in order to make that turn. So what we have constant all the way, including this one, up until the very final round. So number 7 is not included in that constant, but the first 3 are always single crochet, the next 3 are always half double crochet. And just think about like the mirror of the water, like the reflection. What's happening up here is happening down here. Okay, so then these 3 half double crochets are constant and these 3 single crochets are constant. So what is really changing here is everything on this side of the border and then everything on this side. So what's gonna happen is that as we're getting bigger and bigger, we have double crochet increases. So we had here in the very beginning, remember we had 2, then we had 3, we had 4, 5, 6 and 7, and because of that we're increasing it, and these are gonna be increasing as well. Now just like we did on the small wing, the number 3 here, see this spoke here, does not start until we get to round number 3. So it's not, doesn't exist way down here. That's why you see it kind of marked up partial, and this one here as well. So when we go to start this, you see that I marked the 3 in the middle. So this one was spoke out, the middle one was spoke out, this one was spoke out, and then in round 3 these will then pick up. So what I did for the highlighting, what does that mean? Why is it flatter here than it is here? Well, when we go to start, it's gonna say 3 single crochets in the next, 3 half doubles in the next, and then it's gonna tell you the number of double crochets before the repeat pattern starts. So let's say we're doing round number 6. So round number 6, it'll say by the time we finish the double crochets here, it'll say 3 double crochets in the next, and then it will say 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, and it will say 7 double crochets in a row, and repeat that a total of 5 times. So you have your repeat of 1 2 3 4 and 5, and you notice here, see that it's still spoking out here, but you have to repeat the pattern. So this is where it leaves you before then you come back around. So even though you're starting later for the repeat, it ends pretty much at the same spot right down here, and then we're gonna adjust and then come around and do the back end. So let's talk about the back end really quick. So it's just like the small one, so let me turn it just to make it look easier. It looks the same. So what's happening on this side of the center line is the same as what's happening on the other, and as soon as you can identify that, it makes it so much easier to follow. So you can freeze frame this video if you would like to, if you would like to mark up the chart in order to help you. It helps me a lot, and we're gonna be using stitch markers like we did in the small wings, because honestly those stitch markers will make this so much easier for you. And it took me about 1 hour to be able to do one wing, and that's because I'm counting and I'm taking my time to do it. You can probably do it quicker, and if you do, leave a comment here on Facebook or YouTube if you can do it even quicker than I can. I like to take my time and move my stitch markers around. The stitch markers honestly saved my life on this particular project because it gets really difficult, especially when you get bigger. Have you done your 5? Have you done your repeats? And have you done them enough? And then you start questioning life, and then it becomes a real issue from that point. So let's start and let's begin to do this, and let's take our time, and I'm going to be following each round individually, step by step as we go. So there's not going to be any fast forwarding going on in this particular section of the video. So let's begin round number 1. So we're gonna start off with the chaining of 10. We're then going to put a stitch marker here. So I need you to make a total of 6 stitch markers. Just spare yarn's fine. Make sure that you can see it when you're using it, so don't use the same color. That's what I'm saying. And we're gonna come around, and then we're gonna zip around here, and then come around the underside like we did with the small wing, and then come back, and that will be round number 1. Let's move along and let's try it. Okay, let's begin. You need a size K 6.5mm crochet hook. For obvious reasons, I have a white background. You cannot see a white wing on this thing. So I'm using a different color, and I've already got my wings done in advance so I could learn how to do this pattern as well. Let's start off with the slip knot, and let's begin, and I need you to chain 10. Okay, so let's go, and 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 and 10. So let's start working our way around, and let's go second chain from the hook. So 1 and 2, just count it back. So 1 and 2, and insert into the back chain only, or the back loop, and just single crochet, but hold it. I want you to put one of those stitch markers right there. It'll help you identify just like it did with the small wing. You want to help yourself as much as possible. So this is where we're going to stop and start these projects when we go around. So let's continue along. We're going to do 2 more single crochets in a row. So 1 and 2. So you have your total of 3 so far, because that first one was 1. So that is your constant. The next 3 are half doubles. So 1, 2 and 3. Okay, so that's your constant, and so the next 2 are going to be double crochets. So just 1 and 2, and now you have 1 stitch left, and that's going to be the one that's going to zip around. So I need you to do a total of 7, and your project's going to naturally rotate as you put more into a full circle, well, into a semicircle. So that was 1 and 2 going into the same stitch for 3, and we got 4, we have 5, 6 and 7. So now that you got your 7 in here, I need you to get your stitch markers out and let's start marking stuff up. So right here you can see the semicircle of all 7 are here. So what I want you to do with this, pull your hook out, and I want you to put it out, and you can see all 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we want to skip the first one and go to the second and grab these stitch markers. You need a total of 3 this time. So 1, 2 and 3. So go into the second one and put a stitch marker in. This will indicate to you, if you were watching the small one, where it's going to branch out in order to make the spokes. Skip the next one and put a stitch marker into the next one, which will be the exact middle of the semicircle. Skip the next one and go to the second one over, and that's the one before the end to help you indicate that. And I want you to put it right in there as well. So now all 3 are marked, so you can see the spokes. So here's 1 spoke, 2 and 3, and it's not until round 3 is that there's gonna be 1 in the middle here and 1 in the middle here. Let's go along the bottom side, and we're gonna create the reflection of the mirror or of the water. So the next one stitch in a row is going to be a double crochet. So 1 and do another one. This is gonna be 2 in a row. And now we're back to the constant, and the constant is the half double crochet. So there's gonna be 3 in there, 3 into 3 in a row, sorry. So 1, 2 and 3. Okay, the next 2 are going to be single crochets each. So 1 and 2. And the next one is gonna be 2 single crochets. This is the very edge of the other side. It's the other side of the turn. So there's 2, and I want you to join it to the top of the first single crochet that is marked with a stitch marker. See, it's not always easy to tell where you stop and start, and that's a great way to be able to do that. Okay, so there you go. So that I've just done round number 1, got my stitch markers all laid in, and now I'm ready for round number 2. So now ready for round number 2. So round number 2, we're gonna do our constant of 3 singles, 3 halves. This time there will be 3 doubles, and then right where we've got the stitch marker here is exactly where the first one will branch out. Okay, so it'll have 3 double crochets in. So these stitch markers really give that indication on how to do that. So I like to start differently than what you may think. So sometimes I get confused, and sometimes I will say, okay, this is my first single crochet, and by the time I get here I'm off by 1. Okay, so what I like to do is that I like to look at the stitch marker, which will be right here, and I like to count back so I can see that I got 3 double crochets, 3 halves and 3 singles, and it will tell me exactly where to start. So what I like to do on the project is that I like to count back. So here's the stitch marker, so go to the one before it. So that's a double, 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 and then the next one is half, 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 and the next one is single, single, single. So I just verifying to myself where I am in this pattern, and this makes it a lot easier for me, and this is something I do off camera. You don't have to, but I will do that with each one of these rounds. So let's move along to round number 2. So let's begin round number 2. We're gonna chain up 1 and one single crochet into the first one right where that stitch marker was, because that's where you did. Move up that stitch marker. So take the hook out, go into that stitch you just made, and just pull a section of that stitch marker through, and that'll indicate to you when you get all the way back around. Again, a helpful tip. So single crochet in the next two, 1 and 2, and then the next 3 are the constant for the half double crochet, so 3 halves in a row. So we got 1, 2 and 3, and now this time round number 2 we have 3 doubles in a row, and when I look at it, you see the stitch marker here, this is at the 4th one, so I know that I'm in the right track. So 3 doubles in a row, so 1 and we have 2 and we have 3. You're gonna notice this kind of buckling a little bit. It settles down. You can trust me on that one. So the next one is the stitch marker, and if you look at the pattern as well, this is where it branches out, where there's gonna be 3 doubles right here. So right where it's in the stitch marker, put in 3 double crochets. So 1, 2 and 3. And right in the middle one of those, the group of 3 like we did with the small wing, pull out the strand, go into the middle one of the 3 that you just did, and pull a section of that same stitch marker up so that you can identify that middle one next time that you come around. Just makes your life a lot easier. You're gonna single crochet, or sorry, double crochet just one time into the next stitch available to you, and then you're back on another stitch marker here, which is the center point, and there's gonna be 3 into that one as well. So we got 1, 2 and 3. And what I want you to do then is that I want you to pull a section of that in the middle one. Just pull a section of it. You can pull it from the back or the front, it doesn't really matter. As long as you pull it through, just like a section of it. Okay, the next one is 1 double crochet by itself. And then the next one is got the stitch marker in, so that means that there must be 3 in that one. So the stitch markers indicate to me which ones have the 3 double crochets in them. I tried it a couple times without doing the stitch markers. It's a lot easier to do it with, and it doesn't take much time. Middle one, move up the stitch marker so you can identify it next time. So let's go down the other side. So down the other side we're going to for the repeat pattern, it was 1 double crochet by itself, and then we're back onto the pattern itself. So there's 2 double crochets now in a row. Okay, there's 3 half double crochets in a row. Okay, and now there's gonna be 3 singles in a row, which is your constant. The halves and the singles are your constant that you can always rely on to be the same. And now we're gonna start wrapping around the bottom end of the wing. So in round number 2, you only have 1 stitch left, and so that's one is gonna be 3 single crochets into that one. So 1, 2 and 3, and join it to the beginning. See where you've done the single crochet? That's where you're gonna join it, and that concludes off round number 2. Just like this. Let's move along to round number 3. So moving along to round number 3, I think that you're catching on to the graphs. This is the second time we're doing wings, so hopefully you're catching on. We're gonna chain up 1 and 1 single crochet into the same one, and I want you to move that stitch marker up so that you can identify that when you come back around. Okay, the next one is gonna be a single, and the next one. That's your constant. Here's your half double crochets for your constant. There's 3 in a row, so 1, 2 and 3. So on round number 3 there's more double crochets then that have to come in before you get to the stitch marker, which is where it starts branching off. So this is round number 3. There's gonna be 4 double crochets in a row. So you got 1, 2, 3 and 4. And see, you're right before the stitch marker. So in the stitch marker this time we're gonna put in our 3, And in round number 3 we're gonna add another spoke, which will be the number of spokes 4 and 5. So there's gonna be 3 into this one with the stitch marker. Again, move that stitch marker up so you can identify it next time. Now the next stitch is going to be 1 double crochet by itself, and then the next one is going to be another group of 3. Okay, so let's put in 3 double crochets in there. So this is your next spoke that you're creating that doesn't exist until this point. And grabbing another stitch marker from your collection. I need 2 here. So I'm gonna put a middle one in. So this is a new spoke that never existed until now. So that's in, and we carry on. So the next one is 1 double crochet by itself. Here's the very middle of the wing. It's gonna be 3 into that one because there's a stitch marker in place, and because it's the middle. Okay, come in. I want to move that stitch marker up again. Okay, so the next one is going to be 1 double crochet by itself. The next one is going to be another group of 3, which is a new spoke that is just beginning on round number 3. Same thing, add a stitch marker to that middle one. There you go. Okay, the next one is 1 double crochet by itself, and then this is the final 5th spoke right here where it's marked, and there's gonna be 3 into that one. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so to keep the repeat pattern, you've got to do 1 more double crochet here, and then we go back to the pattern to look. So the next 3 are going to all be double crochets. So 1, 2, see lots of counting here, 3, and 4. Okay, and now the next 3 is your constant, so that's your halves. So half double crochet, so 1, 2, and 3. The next 3 is 3 single crochets, and then we're gonna wrap around the bottom of the wing. So these 3 are your constant. So in round number 3 the storyline is gonna change a little bit on the back end here. So the next stitch is gonna be 2 single crochets. So 1 and 2. The next one is going to be 3 single crochets. This is the very back of the wing. Okay, there's 3 in that one, and the final one is going to be 2 single crochets, and you need to join this then to the top of the first one that you have marked with a stitch marker, and that concludes round number 3. Just like so. Again, everything will settle down once you get this established. So let's move along to round number 4. Round number 4, let's move up. We're gonna chain up 1, and we're going to single crochet into the same one, and we're gonna move up that stitch marker to help me identify that next time. And the next 2 are going to be single crochet each, so 1 and 2. So there's your constant with 3 in a row. The next 3 is your halves, your half doubles, so 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so this is round number 4. So this time there's going to be a total of 5 double crochets in a row before you hit the first stitch marker. So let's count those out. So you got 1 and 2, 3, 4, and 5. Like so. And then here's your stitch marker. So now it's gonna branch out to do that. So you gotta put 3 doubles in that one. So 1, 2, and 3. And move that stitch marker up to the middle one to identify it next time. And now in between each one for round number 4, there's going to be a total of 3 double crochets in a row before you hit the next stitch marker. So let's do that. So we got 1, 2 and 3. See? And the next one is the stitch marker, so I know my counts are right. And so then the stitch marker, there's going to be another 3 doubles in that one. So 1, 2 and 3. So in the middle one of the 3, you want to move that stitch marker back up and move along. So the next 3 are going to be by themselves, 3 double crochets in a row. So 1, 2 and 3. Okay, here's the stitch marker, so that one's going to have 3 into that one. So 1, 2 and we got 3. Move that stitch marker up to the middle one. So the next 3 are by themselves, so it's 3 doubles in a row. So you got 1, 2 and 3. Okay, here's another stitch marker. There's going to be 3 in a row. So you got 1, 2 and 3. Okay, the middle one of the 3, obviously stitch marker is moving up. Next 3 are by themselves. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, these stitch markers just help you instead of having to count and double check yourself all the time. You can rely on those stitch markers to be accurate, just like so. So this is your 3 in a row. Here's your next one. Okay, it's your middle. I think the stitch marker must have fallen out of that one. So you got 3 into that one. And even though it's fallen out of that one, I'm still gonna fix it for the next time. Okay, so let's carry on. So the next 3, as per the repeat pattern, is going to be 3 doubles in a row. So that's taking you back to the highlighted spaces that you see on my other chart that I did. Okay, so carrying along, we have that done, and now the next 2 are going to be double crochets. So you got 1 and 2. And now we're going to then do the constant. So that's going to be 3 halves in a row. So 1, 2 and 3. 3 singles in a row. So you got 1, 2 and 3. There you go for that. And now we're ready to wrap around the bottom end of this. So for round number 4, what we're going to do then is that the storyline is going to change just slightly. So the first one we're going to do, there's going to be 2 singles into the first one, and into the next one there's going to be 1 single crochet. The next one there will be 2 single crochets. So 1 and 2. This is the very middle of the back. There's only going to be 1 single crochet back there. The next one there's going to be 2 single crochets. So 1 and 2. The next one's going to be 1 by itself. And the very last stitch that you're running into here is going to be 2 single crochets into the very last one, and you're going to then just join it to the top of the first one that you started with, like so. Okay, so you can see it's really kind of working out now, and let's carry on and let's move on to round number 5. So let's start round number 5. We're going to chain up 1 single crochet into the same one that you did to join with, and that's your first one. Move up that stitch marker once again. Okay, so then it's in the constant area, so that was 1 of 3, so 2 more singles in a row. So 1 and we've got 2. Then the next 3 are going to be half double crochets. So you got 1, 2 and 3. and now you got a bit of a more of a space. So this is round number 5, so there are 6 double crochets that will stand by itself before you hit that first stitch marker in this time around. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So there's 6 and the stitch marker is next, so it tells me that I'm in the right spot. So this one obviously is gonna have 3 into that one space. So 1, 2, and 3. So the middle one of the 3, you obviously move that stitch marker up to help you. So for round number 6 there's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. There's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 double crochets that will stand by themselves. So 1, and just keep moving along until the next stitch marker. This is 2, 3, 4, and 5. And look at that. See, stitch marker is next. So I know I'm on the right track, so let's put in 3 into that one too. So 1, 2, and 3. Move that stitch marker up. Okay, another 5 in a row. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, there we go, and then 3 are in into the same one. So 1, 2, and 3. Middle one of the 3. Okay, another 5 in a row. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You hit another stitch marker. So there'll be 3 in that one. Hopefully you're getting the pattern by now. Middle one of the 3, move that stitch marker up. Okay, another 5 in a row. And I'm looking for the stitch markers to indicate to me when I've stopped going all the way around on the semicircle. So it gets to the point where I actually trust in the stitch markers. So if I was on my own I wouldn't be counting to 5 at all. I'd just be filling in the double crochets as they go. So here's the stitch marker in the next one. There's another 3 into that one. Okay, middle one of the 3. And we got to continue that same repeat pattern as we're going around. Okay, so we're gonna make sure that we fill in another 5 and then the repeat pattern is done going around that semicircle, and then we come back around to the other side. So 1, so I will count this one out, 2, 3, oops, that was supposed to be 3, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so now we've got that done, and now we just have to look back to the pattern. So 5. So now we have to, for this particular one, we've got our 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we have to fill in, and we have to do a total of, where we got here on this pattern, so we have to do a total of 2 more. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. My apologies on this one here. So we're gonna do this one. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. There should be 6 right after this one. I'm sorry about that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, that's right. Okay, the next 2 are going to, or sorry, that is everything. So you got 6 after that, and now we're gonna go back to our constant. So it's gonna be half double crochet in the next 3. 1. Do you see how I just was able to correct myself just by looking at the stitch marker and where I was? If I didn't have that stitch marker in there it would not have been pretty. So we got 3 halves in a row and then a singles into the next 3. So 1, 2, 3. So now we're gonna wrap around the base of this one. So this one is round number 5. So let's think what we need to do. So the next one is gonna be 1 single by itself, and then the next one after that is 2 into the same. Okay, the next one is gonna be a single, and then the next one is gonna be 2 into the same. So we're gonna be approaching around the bottom middle section. So that was 2 into the same. So the next 3 are going to be by themselves. This is the very bottom of the wing. So 1, 2, so they're 3 in a row. They're not into the same one. Okay, so you got 3 in a row, and now we're gonna carry on and start doing the expansion again. So the next one's gonna be 2 into the same, 1 and 2. Next one's by itself for a single. The next one is 2 into the same, and the very final is going to be 1, like so, and then just join it to the top of that one. So that was round number 5. So we're gonna carry on one more round for round number 6, and then we're gonna do a border next. So let's move along to round number 6. So round number 6 we're gonna chain up 1, and I'm going actually pretty much at the speed I would be even if I wasn't filming. Some of you may be too quick. Remember, the charts are there, the written words are there. Just take your time. It took me time to understand it too. So you got 1 already done. I just moved up my stitch marker, and you got 3 singles in a row. That is your constant. Your half doubles, there's gonna be 3 of those. That's your constant. So that's never changed. This is the last row of doing it like this, and then we're gonna do a border, and that's it. It's not so bad. So now we're going to do, this is 6, so now there's gonna be 7 double crochets in a row before we hit the first stitch marker. So we're getting bigger. So let's count those out together. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, this is 5, this got 6 and 7. So there's your stitch marker. So what's that mean? 3 is going into that one. So let's start moving around the semicircle of this wing for the final rotation of doing it this way before we add that really easy border. So again, the middle one, you know what, this is the last round. I wouldn't even bother to move up the stitch marker, which I'm not going to, because it doesn't make a difference on the border at all. So what we need to do then, once you get your 3 in, we have to then start expanding as we go around. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I just want to verify that I'm gonna count off camera. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's a total of 7. So there's gonna be 7 double crochets in a row, or you can just look at it and just fill it in with double crochets until you hit the next stitch marker. It's up to you on how you want to execute that idea. If you've been following your stitch markers, you can do it that way without even counting, and I'm not even counting because I'm pretty confident on it. I'm pretty confident myself. So okay, so here's the one right before the stitch marker. So here's the stitch marker, so we're gonna put 3 into this one. Again, I'm not even gonna bother to move up the stitch marker because it doesn't make a difference for the border. So the spokes have no relevance for the outside border execution. So let's just double crochet ourselves 1 in each until we get to the next stitch marker. Sometimes I literally count stitches even when I don't need to. So I'm saying I'm not counting, but in my brain I am. Go figure, right? I'm sure we all do that. I find myself, because of crochet, I count things that are just kind of mundane and things that don't even matter, including when I'm walking and stuff, how many steps I take. And I think it all comes back to crocheting and counting stitches. So here's another stitch marker. There's gonna be 3 into that one. Again, don't worry about the stitch marker moving up. So you can kind of go faster without stitch markers, but I don't think you can go as fast in the long term, because it's the stitch markers that are giving me the visual clues that I need. So let's carry on until we get to the next stitch marker. So I found it with these particular wings, what you're gonna wanna do afterward as I'm talking to you is that you're gonna wanna dampen them. Like, don't soak them, just damp them, maybe even a spray bottle, and then just kind of shape it and lay it somewhere to dry. Don't over soak, and make sure that it does dry completely. And make sure it doesn't like stay wet for days, because then it will start to mildew on you or just smell like mold. So here's another stitch marker. You're putting 3 into that one. So what I have is a little Conair steamer that I steam my projects with, and then I just leave them on my table, and then I come back to it in the morning and it's usually dry, and it's usually honestly dry within a matter of an hour or so. Anyway, it doesn't stay wet for very long when you use a steamer. If you are going to use a spray bottle and stuff, you're going to probably make it more wetter. Again, that's up to you. Coming back around, and I want to do a verification count. So this is the last stitch marker for me. So I just want to count off camera. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, makes sense. So now that your final one is done, okay, there's going to be 7 double crochets in a row from this point before we go back to the constant of the half double crochet. So do 7 in a row of doubles. So we got 1, 2, I don't know why I'm dropping the stitches. We got 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And now that you got that done, we're gonna go back to the constant. So it's gonna be 3 halves in a row. So we're gonna go 1, 2, and 3. Next ones are gonna be 3 singles in a row. So 1, 2, and 3. And now we're gonna then start zipping around the back end here. So let's begin to do that. So the first 2 stitches are going to be single crochets by themselves. So I got 1 and 2. The next one is going to be 2 singles into the same, and then the next 2 are by themselves. So 1 and 2. The next one is going to be 2 into the same, and now we're at the very back end of the wing, the very bottom. So the next 3 are going to be by themselves. So 1, 2, and 3. And then we're going to come around as we come back up here. So we're going to do 2 into the next one, and then 2 by themselves. 1 and 2. 2 into the next one. 1 and 2. And the 2 finals are going to be 1 single crochet each. And then just come and join into the first one that you started with. You're now officially done this color. So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to trim this yarn and weave it in, and I'm going to come back with the border. And the border is really quite simple, and I don't need to take you all the way around. I can just explain it to you just right off the hop and get you to do the rest on your own, because you can figure that out on your own as well. Okay, so just weaving in your ends, and you can remove your stitch markers at this point. Everything is completely done except for the border, and I find the border really kind of stabilizes this project. So pull out all your stitch markers. And you can kind of pull on your project to kind of weave in the ends, or to kind of like make everything stabilize on its own. Okay, so just give it a few good pulls. Just like so, don't be shy of it, just like there. See, it kind of has a little bit of a natural curve going up, which is kind of neat. And so what I would do is then spray this with a little bit of water or steam it, and then just push it down, and then just let it dry upside down, and it will stay flat on the top, because that's how I did the original. So let's do your border next, and this is the final round, number 7. Okay, let's do the final border. I'm going to just not create a slip knot, but I'm going to go to where I finished, and I want to pull that loop through, and lay it down. So lay that down a little bit and then you're gonna trap that into position. So let's get you started and then I'll show you the repeat pattern going all the way around. So you're gonna chain up 1 and 1 single crochet into the same one that you just did the join, and then you're going to single crochet into the next 3. So there's gonna be a total of 4 single crochets in a row. So 1, 2 and 3. So with the join you did plus these 3, that gives you 4. So I'm just going to then in the next one I'm gonna place 2 single crochets in there. So 1 and 2. Now here's the repeat pattern going all the way around, which I'll leave that with you, and there's gonna be a total of 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there'll be 7 single crochets in a row. So this is 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7, and then the next one will have 2. So that's your repeat pattern going all the way around. I'll meet you at the other side because you're not gonna finish equally on this side here, and I'll show you how to do that. So remember, 7 in a row and then 2, 7 in a row and 2. So as you get all the way back around, what's gonna happen is that you're gonna have your doubles here, and then there's gonna be 3 stitches left. And think about it here, you put in 4 and then you put in 2, so that remember there was 7 in a row and then 2, 7 in a row. So what's gonna happen is you're gonna put 3 on this side after you got your double in there, because you're just following the pattern as is. So the 3 by themselves are the finale of doing the border, and you're just going to just fasten or just join with a slip stitch, and then that's it. So that's kind of how you do it, and then you can see that once this border was added it can stabilize it. And so now you just need to get 2 of these done, and then you can move along and attach it to the cocoon, and we're gonna cover that next. Finally, you're ready to do the final assembly of attaching the wings to the body. I'm gonna show you a sped up video on what I did in order to attach it. Notice that I used spare yarn to attach the wings to the body prior to sewing so I could position, and notice I used tape measures and what my hands were doing in order to position this better. So once you're done this particular chapter, you are ready to give this as a gift, and let's show you exactly what I did. So now we're back, and now it's time to look at here and see how we're gonna assemble this, and all we're gonna do is whip stitch these wings. Now from what it appears to me that these wings are not actually sewn together here, but you can if you want to. If you want them to be kind of aligned with each other, it's up to you. You just make sure you use the same color. So I'm gonna use the outside color, which is the yellow, and join it within the yellow. Do you see here that this here is at the halfway point in the middle? That's just a visualization for you to be able to figure that out. And then what I would do is then you can either attach here if you want to, but all you just got to do is just whip stitch yourself across and join the wings. So when you're joining these wings, what's gonna happen is that you want to look for how they are. So you will notice that this here is the point, and then this goes around here. This here is the point, and then it goes around. So when you go to put these together like so, and I still have my stitch markers, and when I did it, here's the point, and when I get the other one out that I have here, here's the point here. So I can kind of see how they can kind of come together, and then I'm going to join it here. So I'm going to show you how to whip stitch next, and then My friends at Yarnspirations.com and myself, Mikey of the Crochet Crowd, would like to thank you so much for joining us today in making the Bumblebee Snuggle Sack. It's been a pleasure to teach you today, and of course if you're looking for more free patterns and ideas, you can count on us to keep the inspiration free and the ideas flowing. Have an amazing day and hope to see you back here real soon. Bye-bye.